Eldo.
Dr.
Yeah,
Soumya, I
yes.
just wanted
Yes,
to
sir.
add a few points to what Eldo was just mentioning
Yeah,
that,
sure, sir. Sure, sir.
for an undergraduate doctor, the actual decision becomes more clearer during house urgency. House urgency is when mentoring takes place, when you're really in the clinical field. If you're fortunate enough to work in a high volume center with a large case profile, then you will get fairly an idea whether you want to branch into a physician or a surgical field. To Elder's point, the medicine and subspecialties like Sherlock Holmes. If you have an aptitude to be a detective, basically you have this information and you have to come to a diagnosis. Then you have to go into that. So that's kind of personality what he's talking. A surgeon's job, you need to have that sense of daring. You need to be brave, daring, risk appetite. But at the same time, like he said, it's very objective. You cut open, you see the problem, you fix the problem. It's very time sensitive. Your decision making skills have to be there. So these are those two broad personality types, whether you want to go into medical specialties or surgeon. I just wanted to also touch base on like my background. For example, I'm an MBBS doctor I have two MBAs in management. So that requires, you don't need to be a doctor, by the way, to be a healthcare management professional. You can be a nurse, you can be a paramedical. And in fact, if you look at my own organization, we have people with varied backgrounds with an MBA who are running hospitals or part of the management team. So this is a huge emerging cadre. There are some highly reputed programs in India. For example, the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. You have the Administrative Staff College of India, IIHMA, Jaipur. You have the IIMs or the Indian School of Business. There are various management programs which gives you certified programs for healthcare professionals in management. And this is a growing trend. And clearly there is a career opportunity also for healthcare managers in a very big way.
Thank you, sir. Eldo, I wish Vedatma was there when I completed my MBBS. Anyway, I'm happy in my field, but still, I was just thinking. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eldo. I request our technical team to play a short video on Vedatma right now. After that, we'll continue with our question and answer session.
I think the sound is not there.
Technical team, the sound is not there. You need to enable the sound in the settings.
Hello.
Dr. Soumya, you may continue, please.
Yeah. I hope the video is over.
It's over, yeah.
Yes. So my next question is to Dr. Harish.
No?
So you were mentioning about
Hello?
teleconsultation. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, yes. My next question is to Dr. Harish Pillai. Sir, you were mentioning about the teleconsultation facilities. Dr. Saji was also mentioning. Nowadays, there is an increase in demand for the teleconsultation needs. I know all the big hospital will be having the facility, but what is your plan to take this teleconsultation facilities to the next level?
Thanks, Dr. Soumya. So, where Aster is concerned, we have 25 hospitals in our network and we are spread across 8 countries. In India, we have 13 hospitals spread across 5 states. So, it's a very complex task. And typically, in bigger hospital chains like us, we have a chief information officer, CIO, who has got the mandate to push the technology vertical. But I must confess that here the credit goes to COVID-19 and not the CIO for early adaptation of telemedicine by everyone. There was this mental thing that perhaps some doctors, because they are not very tech savvy, they might be very reluctant to come onto the bandwagon of teleconsulting. But we were very surprised. Like Dr. Saji was saying, a lot of our doctors above a certain age band, they were forced to be at home due to the pandemic. And these consultants were actually on the vanguard of really pushing the boundaries of teleconsultation because that was the only way for them to reach their patients. So it has been a very interesting kind of a thing. Of course, cardiology is among the top specialties, internal medicine, pediatrics, dermatology, rheumatology, infectious diseases, OBGN, neurology. I can name many more subspecialties which has really spiked in a very big way. Couple of things. Now, teleconsultations, many people misunderstand that it's just a video consultation between the doctor and the patient. It is not really so. You have to have the ecosystem in place. So the ecosystem, what we have is, we have a separate diagnostic chain called Aster Labs, which we are expanding in southern India right now. So we have, in Aster at least, we have a portal which is under development now called One Aster. So in One Aster, you can, if you want to go to a hospital, you can have your consultation, your payment gateway, you can choose your doctor, you can have access to your diagnostic reports, imaging, all your laboratories, you can get your discharge summary, you can also have your teleconsultation, you can have your home care services, whether it is home phlebotomy, home pharmacy, home diagnostics, home physiotherapy for that matter. Then you have mental health app. We are onboarded with an app called Visa, which has got a AI-based bot, and also it gives you self-assessment tools to really follow you through the day. So it's actually a bouquet of services which is still under development, and that's what. So our aim is that we have on an accelerated path that in the next 2 to 3 years we would like to be a virtual hospital provider. Where geography is basically, it just disappears. It does not matter where you are as long as the knowledge bandwidth is available. So that is something which is very interesting. The other aspects in terms of technology is that we have really gone deep into the bandwagon of digital pathology, for example, because we really believe that a surgeon is as good as his pathologist. So we have gone and identified the subspecialties of pathology, whether it's neuropath, whether it's derma, whether it's breast path, renal path. And we have identified the concerned doctors who have large body of expertise in that. And so it's basically high-end scanners where the tissue is uploaded onto a cloud space. And this doctor needs to only focus on the narrow specialty so they get better and better. And they're also aided by a algorithm, because typically when you go into immunohistochemistry, for example, in the manual part, the doctor will have to really count the number of illuminated cells to come to a diagnosis. There is a tendency for human errors, but with this AI algorithm built into digital path, that is completely eliminated. So these are very interesting times. And like one of the speakers talked about, for example, in oncology, old days, especially in Kerala, we were very proud that Ayurveda was probably the only branch which talked about personalized medicine, where an Ayurveda practitioner really can tailor make based on that person's one individual thing. Whereas many of us in modern medicine, we were accused of being practicing gunshot therapy, where it's perhaps not relevant to the patient. But now, with the advent of cytogenetics, genomics, and also immunology for that matter, you can have immune modulator therapy, which is highly personalized for an individual for cancer care. So it's really interesting, like what even Eldo talked about. The boundaries are just disappearing between medicine, technology, and AI all together. And I was quite fascinated what Arvind was talking about. And clearly, I really believe that our generation, all of us sitting here in this panel discussion, we will witness some remarkable advances in healthcare, where society will not be confronted with challenges of non-communicable diseases or emerging communicable diseases, but typically I think our society, our generation will have to confront challenges of global warming, clean potable water, and I suppose food. These are the only things. I don't think that the current disease spectrums, what we say, are easily manageable. That's where that's where advances are coming towards.
So, like you said, the emergence of artificial intelligence has made a big leap in the medical field. But anyway, we'll be moving forward with artificial intelligence, making more use of it. But I'm really scared. Will it be a threat to the doctor community? Like, will we have to sit jobless at home after the emergence of more AI?
Not really. This, if you remember in the old days, I still remember I remember my college days in Trivandrum, where a lot of trade unions were worried about computerization of bank. And a lot of, Inkulab Sindabads were there thinking that the computers will take away jobs in the bank. But where is that? Nothing has happened. Computers, I don't think computers and AI is going to take away jobs. Like I mentioned before, the key words is augmenting capacity, complementing capacity, and to create new jobs. That is what clearly and we can in this discussion itself, we have identified so many new fields in health sector itself, where technology, digital, healthcare, everything is coming together. So I foresee that the future is so bright for the younger generation that, unlike us, they have much more to choose. I don't think there is any fear of anyone losing jobs. This one interesting aspect is the driverless vehicles. When we talked about the Google car, or even for that matter, Tesla, or even Apple car, uh, but then the whole ethical debate is, if a driverless car meets with an accident, who will the legal fraternity file the case against? Because there's no driver. That it's a AI based car, which, so that is these are those dilemmas which I think we will all arrive at and also find solutions towards. So I'm quite confident that there will be no job losses, but in fact new jobs will be created, and we need to constantly upgrade ourselves, whether we are doctors or wherever. And I'm quite sure that somebody as experienced as Dr. Saji, I'm 100% sure that the amount of time he's investing in the CME programs to upgrade himself and the workshops he will participate. So that's for the rest of us too. We need to constantly educate and learn new skills in order to be relevant.
Thank you, Dr. Aresh. My next question is to Mr. Aravind. Aravind, as a young entrepreneur, what are the challenges you are anticipating in your way forward? Like, is there a favorable atmosphere in India for a young entrepreneur like you for coming up with new technologies?
Okay. When it comes to healthcare, you should be prepared for more time for things to happen. So if you come into this with the idea of like startups which have an app, and then you acquire your million customer and goes to $1 billion valuation, all of that in a short time, and become the next Uber or Airbnb, that is not going to happen in healthcare. Here things are more deliberate, cautious, organic. It takes time, because see the validation, your trials, your access to patient, access to doctor, access to hospital, this whole thing, it takes a lot more time. Okay, that is the first thing. So the challenge you will face is, first of all, you should enter this with the right expectation. Okay. The second, the funding and that aspect, right? So you should build in healthcare. You cannot go and give a very non-functional prototype and ask for feedback. So if you wait too late, like you would have made something which is not relevant. But if you go too early, you don't have anything actually to discuss with the doctor. So, and you also know that doctor's time is very limited and precious. So we were having access, but when you go, and especially in our previous product, we were mostly talking to cardiologists and electrophysiologists. So their time is so limited. So you only get a little bit of interaction to understand. And then, so that is the second challenge, right? The amount of time you get from a doctor. Third is like your access. We created something based on all the discussion. Then we went for the initial clinical validation. So you made it a little complex. So you will always have these trade-offs, convenience versus security. Like the more secure you make something, even your app, the more it won't be that easy to use. So you go and then you understand the situation under which the staff works. And then this, that is an area where you will, it's better to anticipate the surprises. And then the other thing is like operational scaling. You can do something in a small scale. Now, when it scales up, okay, to maintain the quality and still you have to be make it available. You cannot make mistakes. You cannot delay. So all of that, when you do it in a small scale, it is easy. When you scale up, it is going to be an entirely different thing. If you don't have anticipated that and build that into your system, you have to evolve. Like it's not that you are going to scale up tomorrow. So but you should understand that you have to scale up and you have to build systems in place to scale up. And then when you are going and delivering things pan-India, you have this language. You have to handle different languages, first of all, in your app. And then you have different levels of familiarity with phones. So still you have to have a human support at many times when you are delivering your healthcare over a phone. It is very likely that the elderly population who is most likely to use it still will have always the fear of doing something wrong. They may even think that because of their some little lack of knowledge, their important procedure is getting useless. So you always have to understand that and work towards the making it as easy and as like error-free for the user. So these are the few challenges anybody will find when you are trying to do something new in the healthcare field. And then on the learning side, it is more of empathy in any product and service development. One of the key factors is to have empathy. So if you understand, and if you just think about patient, but you can also relate to my our own team, the engineers, right? And we are working, most of us take turns and be at the hospital. Second, you can also relate to someone who you know. It may be your parent. So you can relate to a person, and then you will understand. If you delay a report, you have to wait in the hospital, and you create a very bad patient experience. Just you do one thing, you don't make it available on time. The patient has to run around. You are not getting the report on time. So to avoid this kind of thing, it is always better to understand and integrate with the workflow of the hospital. So these are the few things which are easier said than done, because the interaction, the chances of interaction and the feedback you are getting, in this case, it's a challenge. So
Dr. Soumya, I just wanted to add something for Arvind's comments, is that in the past 5 years, what I've seen is there has been a remarkable positive change in the ecosystem, mainly because of push by certain state governments, where you have these a vibrant startup culture. You have these tech incubators which are hosted. The Kerala government has got a very vibrant startup incubator ecosystem which is there. So you have that access to seed capital which is there, and that ecosystem also have veterans in the field who are willing to identify talent and to incubate them and their ideas. So you have an opportunity to access mentors in a virtual field if you're learning on the field. Everyone may not be a Baiju for that matter, because obviously that's a unicorn. But I have also seen that when you look at the current business models there, from a profit and loss statements, it may not make any sense. But the market valuation of all these sectors is incredibly high. So there is also, from a pure market economics, there is an expectation that health sector, and the richest component what health sector has is data, which is absolutely true, which Arvind and Eldo also talked about. Data is the new fossil fuel of the future. And as long as, and we are in the advent of a massive increase in market capitalization because of access to data, and that's where societies are moving towards. So I would encourage youngsters to really keep a curious mind, explore this opportunity more, because it's going to be massive. We can't even imagine the quantum of opportunity which is staring us at our face. There's plenty of opportunities there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. My next question will be to Dr. Saji. Sir, am I audible, sir? Dr. Saji?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sir, everywhere public-private partnership is happening. This pandemic has given us a clear view of the limited capacity of the public healthcare system. I'm not blaming them, it is the truth. So what are your suggestions for a better alignment between the private and public health sector?
See, the government is already stretched with the finances. So we don't expect the government to be spending more at this point of time. So what the government can do is to help small or medium-sized hospitals to step up and improve their facilities, or maybe decrease the regulations which they have, and so that they will be able to sustain. If I just casually went through a statistics which told that in the year 2000, there were almost close to 2,000 hospitals. In the year 2000, there were about 2,000 hospitals in Kerala. And 20 years later, we have only something close to 1,100. That means about 45% dip in the number of hospitals in the state. And I know many situations where small to medium-sized hospitals are unable to sustain because of the very strict regulations and all. So maybe at this point of time, maybe the government may be able to deregulate or decrease the regulations and help the small to medium-sized enterprises to come up. So that may be one situation. For example, telemedicine was not legal till March 25th. Immediately with the COVID pandemic, government came with a regulation and made telemedicine illegal. You must have heard in the newspaper about a doctor being penalized by the Bombay High Court because of a telemedicine consultation which went wrong. You know that now that the same government has legalized telemedicine on March 25th. So the same thing, if government can make good policy changes, that can have an immediate effect. So many of these are not able to sustain. I know many of my friends whose hospitals has closed down because of this difficulty in running. So these kind of changes in policies itself can make a big change. That's what I feel.
So one more question. What do you think about the doctor-patient ratio in Kerala and also in India? Because we are facing a scarcity in the manpower, both in Kerala and also in India. So will an increase in the medical seats help in tiding over this such a situation?
I'm not sure Dr. Harish may be able to answer this question much better than me, but I'll try. In Kerala, I think it is it may not be an unemployment, it may be a disemployment kind of situation. See, a person after MBBS, usually most of the time they don't work. They usually go on for entrance 1 year, 2 year, and 3 years, and they'll be trying to get into a PG seat for at least for 2 to 3 years. Practically, a doctor is available, but the doctor is not working. So even if we increase the number of medical seats, this is not going to happen. Somebody suggested to align the number of undergraduate seats to the same number of postgraduate seats, so that every person or nearly every person who comes out of an undergraduate is guaranteed one of these postgraduate seats. So that way, maybe we can use this workforce. An average doctor spends at least 1 or 2 years. These 1 or 2 years is not available for service. So even if we have got, even if we increase 100 seats to 200 seats, you will find that majority of these patients, majority of these doctors are not working, and it will not be available. I like to get Dr. Harish comments on this.
Yes.
My comments may be fairly controversial, so I have to think carefully what I say. But what I do know that we as a country, we suffer from a socialist mindset. Somewhere in terms of, when you look at economic policies of political parties in India, the entire spectrum, whether politically left or right, economic policies, they are all left and extreme left, center left, which is kind of strange for our country. So there is a fear about market economics, which I can understand for a developing country. At the same time, we need to have efficient tax to GDP ratio to create a viable and sustainable social security net. That is where I thought Ayushman Bharat was a step in the right direction, because it creates that it prevents unfortunate push into acute poverty due to single episodic exposure to health sector. But at the same time, when you talk about the current scenarios, one of the biggest challenges for any private providers is the cost of manpower. And the cost of manpower is directly proportional to the demand supply gap. If you want to hire a specialist, a specialist in India is an expensive proposition for any private hospital, because there are only so few of them. We are not producing enough DMs in our country. That is what the NMC's mandate, which I mentioned in my opening statement, is to double the capacity of doctors in the country. But the moot question is that while we open, now currently we have 13 AIMS in India, and we have plans to do more. The biggest challenge is, where are the teachers? We have an acute shortage of good medical faculty teachers to teach these undergraduates and postgraduates. Therefore, one of the revolutionary ideas which is being mooted is to make the MCI, the previous MCI mandated courses and the National Board of Exams, the DNB programs on par, which I think is really good, because the common man does not understand that the pass percentage of DNB in our country is only 5%. It's very difficult to clear a DNB course, and the kind of products coming out of many of our institutions are outstanding DNB trained doctors. There is also an economic side because of this kind of interference by regulatory authorities, that I can name at least 8 private medical colleges in the state of Kerala which is up for sale, because it's not viable anymore to run a private medical college. So this is something which we need to understand, that you need to have a viable hybrid model, where it should not be, the private sector should not be outwardly commercial. They must have a stake in the general well-being of community. You need to cater to the community in which you are located. At the same time, the public sector also needs to understand the tremendous services done by the private sector. In the state of Kerala, about 85% of services are actually rendered by the private sector. Unfortunately, sometimes in the general debates, this is not often being spoken about. So it's that my-bap, to use a Hindi word, it's a my-bap relationship, where the regulators do not consider the private sectors as equal partners. And it's not the state. In Kerala, things are far better. Situation in rest of India is much worse. So that is a challenge for, I think for our country to wake up and recognize the role of private sector in a big way. Demand supply gap, your specific question, Kerala is very blessed and fortunate, thanks to our legacy of very good teaching hospitals in Trivandrum Medical College, Kozhikode Medical College, Kottayam Medical College, outstanding teaching hospitals, and all the 14 districts have I would probably talk about Wayanad and Kasaragod. These are 2 districts where I suppose the ratios have to be better, but the rest of the districts in Kerala are really well endowed with their professional manpower. The wish is that if Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan can have a Kerala-like situation for their medical manpower, then I think India has arrived.
Dr. Soumya, on
Thank
that
you.
point,
Yes.
if I could
Yeah.
add on that point,
Act-
your specific one. So I was just looking at certain numbers, and it is quite mind blowing to realize that in 2015, if you look at the number of seats, there are 50,000 seats for MBBS, and there are something like 20,000 seats only for postgraduate, and there are something like 4,000 DNBs. So I think this is, when you actually look at it from a student perspective, it is very frustrating that even if you should finish your MBBS, how many people actually get into, like, that's like, out of two people, not even, the ratio is not even one. So this is something that I think our country faces in our educational system itself, which maybe needs to be rectified in the future for people to have equal chances to, and anyway, because we need super specialists in the country, as Dr. Harish was mentioned.
Dr. Soumya, one
Yes,
last
sir.
tiny comment is
Yeah.
the bad thing about the Indian health system is we don't have a gatekeeper concept. In 1950s and 60s, we had a fantastic gatekeeper concept where the GP was an excellent clinician, was basically everything, all in all for the dog. But right now, because of the lack of a gatekeeper concept, the cost of medicine is also proportionally high. The common man does not want to go to a GP, but bypass and go directly to a super specialist. I'm not so sure whether it's a very healthy trend for a developing country like India. Therefore, this I really like what the state government of Kerala has done is to promote the family medicine clinics,
Yes.
which I think is a groundbreaking model for our country as a whole.
Yes, sir. Sure,
Dr.
sir.
Soumya, I have one.
Yes, yes,
Dr.
my
Soumya,
last.
one
Yes.
to your previous question on the anything what I want to share with other people who are trying to enter this field. One,
Yes, sir.
you should have a like Dr. Harish told that he told in our generation we are going to mostly see that we will be dealing with other. We will be mostly having a handle on the current spectrum of diseases. So a vision should be there, which is like a bold enough vision, which you think as a person it's going to be a reality. You will see most of the people living to say 90 plus, healthy, happy, and that should happen. If you survive for the next 20 years, probably you are going to be there till 90. That is what is going to happen, and that kind of progress is happening. So to start, that is the kind of thing which keeps you in the right direction. But then you have to focus on small steps. In our case, we actually focused on a particular thing. We could have done n number of things. We could have gone to RPM, all of that, but we focused on a very specific case and got it right. And the important thing, being an external entity, now you have to get in an acceptance from doctors and patients. Now, in our case, we were able to get now we have more than 1,000 prescribers, predominantly cardiologists across India, and around more than 120 institutions, and a lot of a spontaneous expression of thanks from patients' relatives, doctors. So focusing on a thing and doing it well at the same time, having your vision, it's a much bigger thing. So that way, even if a small failures or something happen, you still have your vision, which can keep you marching forward. But execute and focus and execute on small thing. Make it as perfect as possible before spreading out into many number of things. That will make you can spend your limited resources and time in a much better way.
Okay,
That
thank
is
you,
what.
Aravind. My last question will be to Eldo. Mr. Eldo, keeping all the points which has come up in our discussion, what will be your advice for those students who are still interested in taking medical profession? We are running short of time. Please, in less than 1 minute.
Sure. I think, it's very clear from the discussion, because I was as much a learner today as, if I could prescribe, different careers, listening to, the different doctors, their wisdom here today. There's so many things going on in the healthcare industry, so many new opportunities. Like I said, I was a learner today more than anything else, because the number of different super specialities that was being mentioned, the number of Dr. Hari Prasad mentioned so many different fields, and he actually stopped himself, said, should I go on, right? Because I think, there are so many things going on. I think it's an incredibly, like I said, the only thing is that I think students should take a step back and just ask that big why question. Why are they getting to this field? Once they answer that and they are convinced themselves, have that vision to get into this field, yes, I think the world opens for them into any kind of field they want to, and then kind of matching even their personalities, that they can get into various different fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eldo. So thus we are coming to the end of this session. As a conclusion note, I would like to say a few sentences. No healthcare system is perfect in this world. We know that. We also had some deficiencies while facing this pandemic as any other countries. But if you are viewing it from a different point of view, it has opened up a lot of opportunities also. So it's our turn to explore those opportunities and make the maximum use of it. And together, all of us together, we can do it. So thanks a lot. Thanks to all the panelists for spending your valuable time with us. And thanks to Times of India, MaxEd, Vedatma, WebCardio, and Lead. Thanks you once again. Over to you, Vinay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Soumya. And thank you to all the panel members who have, in spite of their busy schedule, they have made up to this event. And from the bottom of our heart, thanks from part of Times of India, MaxEd, Vedatma, WebCardio, and Lead School of Management. Now, before we wind up, there was a small technical issue. We were not able to play the video with the sound. So there was some problem with the Zoom platform. So we want to play the video once again. So we would like everybody to just stay back for a moment, just 2 minutes. Technical team, can you just play the video?
Vedatma means self-knowledge. And through this in-depth knowledge of self, we help every student become their best. We guide students through this exciting process of self-discovery, helping them find answers to questions like, who am I? What am I passionate about? What are my skills and strengths? This discovery enables them to make an informed choice related to study, streams and careers that are best suited for them, ensuring professional success and personal satisfaction. How does it work? We identify a student's unique natural potential using world-renowned career assessments. This is the convergence of their personality, interest, and aptitude. These assessments can be done online at the student's convenience at home. After these assessments, the student needs to attend 3 online one-to-one counseling sessions with a certified counseling expert. Parents can join as observers. By the end of session 3, we help the student identify his or her unique potential, which in turn helps in choosing the best fit study, streams and careers. Why us? We use world-class assessments like MBTI and strong interest inventory, which are gold standards in career assessments. Unlike group counseling sessions in schools, we offer individual online counseling. We spend over 6 hours spread over 3 sessions with each student, ensuring a highly personalized counseling experience. Who benefits? Students in classes 9 and 10 to select their study streams in +2. Students in classes 11 and 12 to choose college courses. Students in college to select postgraduate courses or their best suited careers. Visit us on www.vedatma.com for more information.
Thank you very much. So with this, we are coming to the end of day 1 of the Times of India Industry Academia Confluence 2020, which is hosted in association with Vedatma and MaxEd and supported by WebCardio and Lead School of Management. Tomorrow is day 2, and we'll be having more power pack sessions. And this first session for tomorrow will start at 10:30, and the session would be on education and empowerment. The second session tomorrow will be at 2:30, which focuses on media, sports, arts, and entertainment. So with that, it's a time to say bye to all of you. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your support, and have a nice day.
Thank you.